All right. Sorry, we got cut off there. All right. So, as we talked about, we're going to be talking a lot about immigration with an I, which is moving between countries, and we'll also talk about immigration with an E, which is moving within a country, and we'll also talk about migration, which is kind of just more general moving around. And so, when we talk about immigration, and migration, the things that we always are emphasizing is that there's always push and pull factors involved. So, literally probably never does someone just wake up one morning and just like, I'm going to move to, a different country. I'm going to get on a ship and sail across the ocean. There's something that's always like driving and motivating a person or people to get up and to move. And so when we look at what push factors are involved in Europe that push them to expand beyond their countries, their nation states, beyond into the oceans, onto other continents. And so there's many factors going on. And historians kind of identify three big factors that played a role in pushing Europeans out of the European continent. The first one is a desire to capitalize on Asian products. So between the 1300s and 1400s, 1500s, we have a lot of Asian products that are coming to European markets. We've had the Silk Road for a long time, moving these spices, silks, other things from Asia, from Asian markets to European markets. And a lot of European foods are really bland. A lot of spices that we take for granted now come from parts of Asia. And so, and a lot of other kind of precious products that Europeans wanted to get control of. And so the Europeans that we see pushing out first are the Spanish, and the Portuguese. And the Spanish and the Portuguese, what they're really trying to do is to cut out the middleman, which was a lot of your Italian merchants that are in the Mediterranean Sea that are starting to, charge the Spanish, charge the Portuguese, charge other Europeans taxes, and they're starting to, charge more for these products. And so they want easier access to these markets. So Portugal is kind of the first European country that pushes out, and they're looking for a more direct route to these Asian products in order to take advantage of that. So that's kind of the first one, having to do with economic aspects.
The second push factor kind of deals on with what Mr. Eskridge was just talking about, and that's competition. In Europe, you had seen the rise and kind of the consolidation of different areas of the continent to these powerful nation states that were run by a powerful monarch. For example, you had Spain, you had England, you had France, and these new nation states are competing with one another for resources, for power. And one of the ways in which these countries now, or kingdoms, saw an opportunity to get a leg up or have an advantage on their European counterpart was by having access to resources. And so you were going to see in the 15th century, 16th century, this new rivalry kind of start between the Portuguese, Spanish, English, and the French for access to resources that can bring wealth to their empire.
And as I mentioned before, the Portuguese and the Spanish, and later the English, and also the Dutch are going to be these first countries, and the French as well, are going to be the first European countries that really kind of launch out from their land into the ocean in order to find these new markets or these new trade routes. And that was really aided by the development of these new maritime technologies. So we have developments in shipbuilding. We have ships that are being built bigger, stronger. They can withstand what it's like to travel on the sea with bigger waves, more kind of temperamental conditions. And we also have developments in navigation tools. So Europeans and sailors were able to better place themselves in the world geographically. So they were able to start developing more maps. We see the cartography or map making just really explode, and we start to see these what look like really basic maps to us now. We're really highly developed at that time. So that kind of allowed people to have more confidence as they set out to explore new regions.
Okay, so again, just to kind of review that previous slide, these powerful nation states competing with one another with a desire to find access to uh, resources that they cannot get on the continent of Europe. And here you have a map of Europe on the eve of Christopher Columbus's discovery of the New World. Now, of course, famously in 1492, Christopher Columbus, quote unquote, discovers the New World. I don't know if you can actually discover something that has people living on it. It's like somebody from Hanford saying, "Look at this new land of Isaiah that I found." But he discovers a new world for Europeans by and large. So, far more important than Christopher Columbus, the person, is the system that his discovery sets up in terms of global trade. So, when Christopher Columbus lands in the New World, that sets in motion what we call the Columbian Exchange. Now, the Columbian Exchange was a system of trading routes and the movement of resources, living things, human beings that impacts four continents. And we have those listed here. You can see the reasons for, or the different ways that the continents were impacted. You start off with Europe. Now, Europe is going to provide the markets and the capital, and they are going to be the colonizers. The Europeans are the continent that is going to spread their influence throughout the world, conquering, subduing people in three other continents. You have the New World. The New World, of course, includes North America and South America, and that's in the Columbian Exchange system. That is where the natural resources come in: gold, silver, plants, animals, resources that the Europeans could not get on their continent. They are going to pull and extract from the New World. And then, of course, the continent of Africa. Africa will provide resources to Europe, but it will also provide the labor that makes this system run. And that, of course, is in the form of slave labor, which was not new which wasn't invented with the Columbian Exchange, but it will really be systematically put in place as a result of European colonization of North and South America.
All right, so just going to kind of touch briefly a little bit. Again, we're trying to establish that when Europeans arrived in North America, in the New World, and they did not find peoples that were, backwards, that were undeveloped, uncivilized, but that they found peoples that had these really highly developed societies. And so one of the things that we can think of is, how were Europeans able to relatively quickly subdue and establish control over these other populations? And so we have this idea of guns, germs, and steel. And so think of this as kind of like a suitcases that Europeans are carrying with them on their ships, on their horses, as they're going out and making contact with all these new people, be it in the New World, North America, Central America, South America, on the continent of Africa, to a certain extent, and then even in Asia as well. So if we think of guns, we're thinking of superior weapon technology. Europeans had pretty much stolen from Asia, from China, the use of gunpowder. And so Europeans have guns, and you don't take a knife to a gunfight kind of thing, because guns are superior. They can subdue someone a lot quicker. Then we have germs, and that's really an important thing of the Columbian Exchange, is the fact that Europeans brought these microbes. They brought diseases with them that they did not really know that they had with them, that turned out to be extremely powerful weapons and useful in subduing these other peoples. And Europeans had developed these from their domestication of other animals like cows, pigs, sheep, other goats, other things like that. And so they had developed these close relationships with them, lived near them, and so they became immune to a lot of these diseases that the animals carried. And people in the New World did not have any real large draft animals or domesticated animals. So they did not have immunities to those diseases. And then steel. So this kind of just goes to superior technology that the native peoples of America just didn't have. And therefore, Europeans were able to use that in order to subdue those people.
Okay, and then this is an image that you will see again, and you'll probably see for the rest of the school year, really, and it's the Columbian Exchange kind of graphically represented. And you can see the movement of people, the movement of resources, crops,